This is a hard play to talk about. A Merchant of Venice. It's I think it's described in Wikipedia as a tragic comedy or something like that. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's a problem now because of this, because of the anti-Semitism. The poetry is wonderful, and I would not tell you to avoid it. But with the Shakespearean troupe, I avoided it for years because I thought, can we do this? Because the bad guy, the guy most full of hatred is a Jew by the name of Shylock. Anti-Semitism is hatred for Jews. And in the light of what has happened in the 20th century and other times, this is a hard subject. In Shakespeare's day, anti-Semitism was there. It goes way, way back. Whether Shakespeare himself was anti-Semitic is hard to tell. But his audience probably was. And in A Merchant of Venice, you end up seeing a Jew cheated out of his money and broken and forced into becoming a Christian. And I think in Shakespeare's day, that was funny. The idea of a Jew being cheated out of his money. It's hard. This is a hard play. But it's a good play. You just have to get past that. Shylock is the Jew. Portia, I didn't name every character because it's not worth it. Portia, though, what a delight she is. I'll say more about her in a little. And then there's this expression, a pound of flesh. What happens in it is that a really nice guy named Antonio loans money to a friend of his at no interest. And he's rich. Antonio's rich, so he has no fear. But at the moment, he just doesn't have the cash. His ships are out at sea. And so he goes to a Jew named Shylock to borrow the money to give to his friend. And Shylock says, there's already tension. Shylock hates the way he has been treated, especially by Antonio. And in a way, this is a chance for revenge. So he says, okay, I'll loan you the money, but what do you have for assurance, a collateral we might call? And he said, well, all his ships were at sea. So he says, well, just for the fun of it, let's write this up, that if you can't pay me back, I get a pound of your flesh. A pound of your flesh. And, Antonio doesn't really take it that seriously, so he signs this. Well, it turns out that, now there's various subplots. I am not telling you the whole story. And again, it's a good play, but this is what people remember. Antonio's ships all get involved in storms. The contract comes due and he cannot pay the money. And he goes before a judge. And Shylock is delighted because he would rather, this is his one chance to get revenge. He'll give up the money to be able to take a pound of this Christian's flesh. But Portia, a woman, and before I go any further, let me point out that here is another one of those cases where Shakespeare created a character who is a very, very smart woman. Beatrice in A Merchant of Venice was an example of this. Portia disguises herself as a judge, and she ends up sitting in judgment at that trial. But first of all, there are two speeches that really stand out in this. First of all, let me quote Shylock, if I can find it here. Shylock, at one point, when people are trying to, I don't know. Anyway, it goes like this. He's raging at the way Jews have been treated. And he said, I am a Jew. Hath not a Jew eyes? Hath not a Jew hands, organs, dimensions, senses, affections, passions, fed with the same food, hurt with the same weapon, subject to the same diseases, healed by the same means, warmed and cooled by the same winter and summer as a Christian is? If you prick us, do we not bleed? If you tickle us, do we not laugh? If you poison us, do we not die? And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his humility? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferance be by Christian example? Why, revenge. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. Well, that's a tricky speech, because this can be turned into the tragedy of Shylock. If an audience sympathizes too much with Shylock for the way he has been abused and is abused, there's no fun in this play. Well, anyway, Portia, she's the judge, and she urges Shylock. The answer to this, she says to Shylock, is just be merciful. He can't pay you the debt. And he says, look here, right here it says, I get a pound of his flesh. And she says, well, then you have to be merciful. And he won't. Well, here's the really famous speech. It's called The Quality of Mercy. I don't know how much I'll read it, but it goes like this. Portia speaking to the Jew. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives, and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His scepter shows the force of temporal power, the tribute to awe and majesty wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptered sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute of God himself. An earthly power doth then show likest God's when mercy seasoned justice. I think maybe I'll stop there. Shylock will not hear it. He demands his pound of flesh. And it gets reversed on him. And how it is because strictly by the contract it says a pound. It can't be any more or any less, not the slightest bit. And it doesn't say anything about blood. And so if he takes any blood, he's broken the contract. And eventually Shylock says, okay, I realize I can't do that. But then she doesn't let him go. She says, but this has been attempted murder against a citizen of Venice. And for that you could die. Well, the Jew, Shylock, ends up being ruined. This is a hard play. I can recommend one. I wrote the date down, but I forgot. But the key of the various versions on film, the one with Sir Laurence Olivier. Wait, maybe I did write it down. 1973. Sir Laurence Olivier. I think that's the best. 1973. And I do recommend it, but it is a tricky one. I studied it in 9th grade, and even then I think I wondered at the fact that something so politically charged. I was in 9th grade about 1960. You know, that was only 20 years after World War II. But it's a good play. All right, anyway, I'll see you tomorrow.